When prompted with the question, what is the biggest life lesson you took away from Tuesdays with Maury and why, I was stunned to notice how many lessons I have actually learned. I began writing about the lesson on family, but then I switched over to the lesson about not taking things for granted because everyone does it and everyone will continue to do it because it's such an easy thing to do. A quote in the book that I enjoy was, "Life is a series of pulls back and forth. You want to do one thing, but you are bound to do something else. Something hurts you, yet you know it shouldn't. You take certain things for granted, even when you know you should never take anything for granted." I'm going to relate this quote to the most recent thing I took for granted. And in my 18 years of living, I never thought I would say it, but I miss school. School is hard work, tiring, and stressful, but it's also fun, exciting, and enjoyable. In the beginning of the quote, it mentions life being a series of pulls back and forth. During school, I'm constantly happy, then sad, then stressed, then carefree. My emotions are all over the place. Then the quote continues and says, "You want to do one thing, but you are bound to do something else." Whenever we have a comp paper, I don't want to write a comp paper, but I know if I don't put my time and effort into it, I'll get a bad grade, so I stay up late and put my best effort into it. It then says, "Something hurts you, yet you know it shouldn't." This reminds me of whenever I get a bad grade on a paper, quiz, test, project. Once I get that bad grade, I rethink my overall effort I put into it and decide if I actually should be mad or not. Then the last part it says, "You take certain things for granted, even when you know you should never take anything for granted." So with my example of school, I took for granted the early mornings to finish a paper and the long nights of studying for a test. I took for granted seeing my friends in the hallways or waving to my favorite teachers. And I even took for granted Miss Lex's amazing pancake making skills. But all of these emotions lead me into my next quote from the book. "Don't let go too soon, but don't hang on too long." When Maury was explaining this quote, it really stuck with me. Do not be ready to throw it all away too quickly, but also you need to move on. When this quarantine started, I knew many people were so happy about it. They were excited to be away from school, to not have to worry about homework and school in general and seeing people they didn't want to see. They were letting go too soon of the idea of high school. Now, with the news today that we can never go back, these people are sad. They didn't expect this to be the outcome. They took for granted their senior year of high school. These were their last days of what many call freedom, because whether you're going to college or working next year, it's the next closest thing to becoming an adult. But to finish this quote, it also says, "Don't hang on too long." So therefore, we need to make the best out of this situation. Take today or even this week to dwell on the fact that school, sports, graduation, prom, it's over, but then move on and do something about it. Work on scholarships for college next year, or work extra hours to help out pay for college next year, or help out a sibling, teach them what they're missing out in school, or help out a grandparent since they shouldn't be leaving their house. It sucks that it's over, but you shouldn't dwell on it for too long. Both of these quotes reminded me of the lesson to never take things for granted and appreciate everything in your life because you never know when it'll be gone. But once it's gone, to not hang on for too long. Accept it and move on. This lesson from Tuesdays with Maury will stick with me for a while.